So today's conversation, you can actually thank Jenny Wallach for this one because I was doing our Ask Me Anything just over a week ago, and somebody on that session asked me about how to get better at asking questions. And it took me back to an exercise that we used to do inside of MAPS. And I wanted to walk you all through this as well, because especially as the market continues to evolve and shift, and especially on the buyer side of the business, your ability to help people connect dots and for you to mine motivation and getting questions that really tell you if this person is ready, willing, and able is going to be a major differentiator in regards to saving you time, a lot of energy and effort. Because I think of, especially on the buy side of the business, and this is an analogy that a lot of people don't really like, but when you're a buyer's agent or working with buyers in today's market, it's almost like you're a medic in a war zone. And if you've ever studied this, it's a little bit heartbreaking. They would walk around and look at the beds, and they only have so much energy, right? As far as their medical team, they only have so much medicine. They only have so many bandages. And so they have to pick and choose who's going to make it based upon the injuries that they have. And that's the way I think of it as it relates to working with buyers, is if you're taking every Tom, Dick, and Harry out there that wants to see a house out to show, you're making a huge mistake. And you've got to get really, really good at asking questions so that you can find the ones that are worth saving. Now, one of my all-time favorite, I don't know if you would call it a theory, I think it's more of a term from psychology, is this right here, and it's called instinctive elaboration. Instinctive elaboration. This isn't something that I made up. I know that I make up terms and phrases, but a mental reflex that takes over the brain's thought process when a question is posed. This is a mental reflex that takes over the brain's thought process when a question is posed. Questions literally control your focus, by the way. So if I ask you, what color is your house? Your brain automatically goes to the answer. Now, I don't know about you, I'm a visual learner, so I think in pictures first. So when I ask what color is my house, I answer my own question and I think of the front of my house, right? And it's gray. So the reason that I want you to understand this is because just like in a courtroom setting, whoever is controlling the conversation is the one who is asking questions. And we're finding that in today's market, there's a lost art that's being discovered, which is scripts and dialogues. And for the last 2 to 3 years, maybe the last 4 to 5 years, we didn't have to be good at scripts and dialogues. And now today, this is something, especially as I talk to the agents who've been around for a little bit, I'm finding that we're going back to our roots, right? Almost like circa Mike Ferry 2006. And when it comes to mastering scripts and dialogues, what I want you to understand is I think it boils down to just 3 things. The first one are questions. And the reason why is that you can mine the wisdom of people's head and their hearts, right? You're controlling the conversation. You're getting to their motivation. You're figuring out, is this person ready, willing, and able? The second one are offers, right? Like I've talked a lot with Jenny, and she recently just designed their arsenal of offers. Offers answer the question, why should I meet with you? It's your selling proposition. Why should I give you my time? Why should I sit down and talk with you, whether I'm buying, selling, or both, about what my real estate needs are? And then the last one are objections. There are a common list of objections in the real estate industry. Some come and go, but there's the standard 4 to 5 that have been around for the generations and are probably going to stay for at least the next foreseeable future. And so understanding objections, one thing, especially for those of you that are a little bit new to this game, you need to understand the difference between an objection and a condition. So an objection is, I'm looking for somebody who charges less commission, right? I have a friend in the business. That's an objection. A condition is, I was going to move, but the job that I was going to move for actually was taken away. That company downsized the job out. that's a condition. So you'll save yourself a lot of time, energy, effort, a lot of beating your head against the wall by just understanding the difference between an objection and a condition. But if you want to master scripts and dialogues, be a true master of it, it starts with questions, then it goes to offers and objections, okay? So we understand instinctive elaboration. We understand that asking questions is the name of the game. Let me show you a really cool exercise. Now, they used to have this in bold. I'm not sure if it's still in bold, but this is called the sales cycle. And if you notice, each one of them is representative of a time zone and a feeling about that time zone. So the positive present, that means that I'm pretty happy where I am. And what I love about the sales cycle is it doesn't matter what the context of the conversation is. It could be used in regards to helping a buyer figure out if it is the right time to buy. This could also be used in a coaching conversation. Maybe you're sitting there stuck and feeling like you're not making the progress or building the momentum that you should be. And so this tool works regardless of the context. But the whole idea is to move you or the person that you're talking to forward. Now, if we're talking specifically about, let's say, a buyer, and maybe this buyer is somebody you're struggling with getting off the fence. So they're saying things like, you know, we're probably just going to lease for another year. We're probably just going to stay here. What they're telling you is that the positive present, meaning where they are, is good enough. They aren't really in any pain, and it doesn't have to equal. Let me just slow down for a second. What I want you to understand, and this is something that is a misconception about this model, is that you have to follow it clockwise. You don't. You can bounce around on this thing, okay? But if we're going back to this conversation or this analogy with the buyer, and they're saying, I'm good, well, then that means that there's no pain as a catalyst driving them forward, or not enough pain, or there isn't enough of a compelling future. There isn't something that they're looking forward to enough. But either way, they're saying, I'm going to stay here. So what we do, and this is a worksheet. In fact, Laura, will you go grab the newest growth tool and throw the link into the chat box so that they all have this and can download it? But what we do is you look at each one of these quadrants. Like, let's just say we've got positive present to negative present, and I'm just going to bounce back and forth here. So if we're in positive present here and we're trying to get them to negative present, meaning we're trying to create some pain, what are 5 questions that you could write or ask? So for example, just out of curiosity, what is it that you're not able to do living in an apartment that you would be able to do if you lived in a house? I'm just curious, or just out of curiosity, what are the challenges that you find in living in a multifamily unit like you have today? So that's 2 questions, right? So what I'm doing is, if I'm talking to this person and I'm really stress testing this idea of them leasing for 1 more year, the first thing that I'm going to figure out is, where are they, right? So they're in the positive present. And then I'm asking myself, well, where do I want to take them? Well, maybe I want to create some pain. So I'm going to go from the positive present to the negative present. And what are 5 questions that I could ask that would start that path? Now, for those of you that are new to this, there's this concept in question asking called framing. Framing is all about how you present or set up the question. So little phrases like, just out of curiosity, I hope you don't mind me asking. You know, I'm wondering. Those are framing, like, type of it's a framing style of an approach that opens the curiosity part of their brain, because remember, we don't want them in fight, flight, or freeze. We want them in freedom. We want them to be open to the idea that we're trying to share with them. So what I would encourage those of you who want to make 2 of the things that we all want more of, if you want more time and more money, I would encourage you to go download the sales cycle. And then I would encourage you to download that worksheet. and get really good at writing questions that move people from one place to the other. And that worksheet, it will show you, it has all the different ways that you can move about the sales cycle. And it's not also, about always putting in people in pain. If you'll notice, there's some of those, like they're in the negative future, and I want to put them into the negative, the positive present. It's not always about negativity or putting people in pain. It's also putting people in pleasure. But I really encourage you to write this down. If you're an agent, I would invite you to do this in the form of lead generation or conversion. If you are a rainmaker, I would be encouraging you to do this in the form of coaching questions that you can ask, and getting really good at moving people through that cycle. So I noticed there were a couple of questions. What other books you recommend on questions? That's a good question. There's one called Pre-Suasion that I recommend a lot, because the thing that I've figured out is that questions are powerful, but how they are framed is everything. So if I said to you all, hey, you guys, I'm going to ask you the most powerful coaching question I have ever come across. The way I frame that, now if you're paying attention and you're not, your video is on, you're leaning forward going, well, what's that going to be? I have your attention. And by the way, it's how well are you leading yourself? That's my favorite all-time coaching question. Other than that, Josh, I would encourage everybody just to start there. And the dude that wrote that also wrote the book Influence, which in the late 80s was one of the greatest books ever written on sales and psychology and understanding how to get people to take action and move forward, both themselves and other people. So good question. So I trust that this is helpful. Again, you can thank Jenny Wallach for this, because she told me that I should build this into a tool. And I would invite you guys, whether it's clients or being a coach, to download this exercise and just each and every day practice doing 5, right? So just pick one time zone and move it to the other. And I promise you, if you'll do this consistently, your influence is going to go up. You will make more money and it will take less time. So try that out. And thank you all for being here. I trust that you'll join us on the 18th for seller lead generation. And I can't wait to see you all next week on Monday Morning Mojo. I will be doing Monday calls this week. If any of you need anything from now for the rest of the week, I'm going to Mexico tomorrow. Please reach out to Laura. All right, everybody, make it a great week. Bye-bye.